the prevailing power of prejudice influenced many.
Here's one example. This is what maybe the classic example. You have a guy, one of the great European Egyptologists, or white Egyptologists. His name is James Henry Breasted. Breasted was born in Illinois in the 1800s. Brilliant man. Went to Germany for, because at the time, in order to be a tough Egyptologist, you had to go to Germany.
Right.
He spent his honeymoon in Egypt. And he and his wife went down the Nile in a boat, and every time they saw an Egyptian temple, they stopped and they copied every visible inscription all the way up and down. Now, monumental task, and it was published in a book called The Ancient Records of Egypt, in a 5-volume set that was published in 1906. Now, in 1916, Breasted wrote a high school textbook called Ancient Times. And in this book, you can see the first edition. He points out that the Egyptians were not white people. He says they were members of what they called the brown race. And he goes and describes it in detail, and it's obvious he's talking about black people. Now, Breasted needed money to establish what was called the Oriental Institute, the famous academic units in the United States, which is connected to the University of Chicago. Now, John Rockefeller came to, can be documented now, John Rockefeller came to Breasted, said, I like what you're doing, but these ideas about race and about the great brown race, that has to go. So in order to get this money, he had to change that. So the next year, the very next year, you can see this too, a new edition of Ancient Times came out, and it says that the Egyptians were members of the great white race. And so it's not like scholars don't know these things, but it's not politically popular. Apparently publishers don't care for the idea. They don't think that the idea will sell. And I guess they figure it's just not palatable to white people in general. Now, I can't be any more specific than that.
The ancient Greeks also repeatedly described the civilizations of the Nile Valley as peopled with those of sunburned skin. These same Greeks sat at the feet of those African cultures to gain knowledge in science, art, religion, and architecture.
This is the